For some reason, during the recent closure of the Cheyenne Old Chicago, rumors have been going around that several other OC locations in the Front Range and beyond have closed. Let me tell you, that's simply not true. In case you don't know what's happening here, the Midland, Michigan and Cheyenne, Wyoming Old Chicago restaurants closed late in the day last Sunday for their final time. I've never been to Midland, Michigan, but I've been to Cheyenne's Old Chicago many a time throughout the years for all kinds of different reasons. So it really made me kind of sad to discover it had closed. There have been lots of ideas of possible takeovers, and I saw at least a couple of people asking about how to contact the property owner, which that does lead me to believe that the Cheyenne location will not be staying vacant for a terribly long time. Which I think that's a good thing. People have shown interest in several restaurants taking over the space. I've seen ideas of a Lazy Dog or a Red Robin as possible ideas for future tenants. And I do feel like that the building could easily be reused for either of those two brands. I have visited both of those brands over the years, and I don't have a preference. In my opinion, they both have pretty good burgers with their own unique twists on the flavor. Hold on a second. What on earth is this? Wait, this is literally what happened to the Evansville Applebee's near Casper and even the nearby Pier 1 Imports back here in Cheyenne. Oh my, what have I gotten myself into? It turns out that the Cheyenne OC, there was one of those weird virtual kitchen thingies, kind of like Mr. Beast Burger, but not Mr. Beast Burger. This one was called Twisted Tenders, which I had no idea even existed until a couple days or so ago when I stumbled across a Google Maps place marker for it. I've never cared for those places. Like they force you to go and order and pay online. I'd rather just go in person, pay in cold hard cash. And you know, I don't even necessarily mind calling an inn and ordering as long as I can just go there and pay that way. I don't know. There have been loads of mixed reviews about the Cheyenne Old Chicago. I've seen everything from complaints of bad food and horrible service to tips of good food and great service. As far as I remember, I've never had a particularly bad experience at my Old Chicago. For whatever reason, I do remember that I didn't visit it for quite a while, quite a few years later in my childhood. I think that's just honestly because I became picky. At least in part because I became picky over my pizza and its flavor. So I really didn't care much for anyone's pizza for a good amount of time back then. They're, like most of them, I don't know. I didn't like it so much for a while. I don't know what it was, but I did make another visit to my Old Chicago in late 2022 when I got bread and mushrooms and a thin crust pizza. And honestly, both parts of my meal were actually some of the best I'd had in quite a while at that point in time. I got onto this mess about 3-ish hours after the Cheyenne Old Chicago closed, and the Cheyenne OC was supposedly going to close about 6 p.m. Some have said a little bit before, some have said it closed at 6, so right around 6 probably. And allegedly within hours after notifying the employees that it would close after that night. So apparently they just notified the workers of this whole thing within hours of the closure. I don't know for certain because I wasn't there, but I had a hunch though that the signage wouldn't be up for too much longer, and I knew I hadn't taken very many exterior photos of it before, so in spite of my sadness and even mild disgust of the whole incident, pisses me off and it makes me sad. This was like a childhood. I made it a point to go out and photo the crap out of the exterior as best as I could that night. I got there about 9:15 last Sunday, and it was already looking pretty abandoned. Nobody in the lot, lights mostly out besides the patio, the signage, and a few indoor lights. It was honestly quite liminal, except that it still had all the decor and all that stuff. At least some of the signage has been taken down, and they even put different permanently closed signage in the windows, which I find it mildly hysterical. It screams at just how last minute this announcement was. Childhood place. I think this was the first place I ever tried the broccoli and cheddar soup. Like, I don't think I tried anywhere else before that, as far as I remember. A huge thank you to my channel members on YouTube and Patreon as usual. Links in the description. Article on optopolis.blogspot.com as well. That's all I got. Peace out, everybody.